All right, YouTube, this Detroit's HPTV back on this Saturday afternoon to share a video with you. We got to talk about it. America, you dodged another bullet. I want you to think about this. Jasmine Crockett, Ayanna Pressley, Hakeem Jeffries, and the rest of the Democrats, including Pelosi, were attempting to shut down the government. Now, do you know why they were attempting to shut down the government? Based on Trump renewing a bill that was already in place? Because they've been telling you and scaring you and fear-mongering you, he's going to stop your benefits. He's going to cut your Social Security. He's going to cut your Medicaid. He's going to take away your SNAP. He's going to take away your Section 8. He's going to do all these things to you. Even though they know none of that was in the bill. But they knew that a forced shutdown of the government would have done that. And based on the fact that they propagandized you and they told you that it was coming and it was going to come from Trump, you will automatically blame his administration for why your benefits stopped and slowed down and why there was so much confusion. They were willing to sacrifice all those people who depend on those benefits just to make Trump look bad. Think about that. They were trying to shut down the government to fulfill the prophecy of Medicaid cuts and Social Security cuts and SNAP benefit cuts, just so they could blame it on the conservatives. Let that sink in for a minute. Trump was continuing, the bill was to continue the same benefits in the same way that it was dispensing money until they came up with a better bill and a better agenda after the audits. See, the audits have given American people a look into the waste and an abuse of the Democratic Party. Their last-ditch effort was to throw the American people under the bus, to create so much havoc, despair, and fear and suffering just so they can attribute it to their political opposition. That seems horrible. And it is horrible that they would do that to the people who they claim to represent. They told you he was a Nazi, he was a fascist, he was going to do this. But none of his actions showed that. So the only way that they could get you to actually believe and sign on to that type of belief system was to create more panic, more pain, and more suffering through a government shutdown. They act like it was some type of moral high road or some type of benefit for the people. They were virtue signaling. They were willing to make sure that you didn't have enough money to pay for your subscriptions, to make sure that you suffered just to make the current administration look bad. Jasmine Crockett and all these people that you have faith in were attempting to shut down the government just so they could turn you against the administration and create havoc. They called for protests in the streets to where they have people attacking Elon Musk's places of business, burning Teslas, firebombing his places of business, burning up charging stations, attacking cars of people that own Tesla. Then they protested in Trump Tower, took over 2 floors in Trump's residence for a protester from Syria who's pro-Palestinian, who's only been in this country a few years. But ever since he's been in this country, he's been a rabble rouser. He's been the leader of student protests. encampments, taking over buildings, creating chaos at the schools. They're willing to do all these things just to achieve their aims of power. Did you know that? They were going to shut down the government to stop the flow of your benefits, particularly so that they could blame this administration. They were using the American people as a hostage to appeal to the current administration for power that they lack in the House and the Senate. They are so angry and upset with Chuck Schumer because, as dirty of a politician as he's been, he was unwilling to go that far to create up to 90 days of suffering and lack of checks and to slow down the government spending as it relates to the citizens, that they were going to actually do this to you. And he wouldn't go that far. But the Jasmine Crockett's and the Ayanna Presley's and the Maxine Waters and the Hakeem Jeffries and the Bowmans, they were willing to do that. They're millionaires. They don't get Social Security and disability checks. They were willing to put you through all of that just to shape public opinion, just to sabotage Trump's plan of economic growth. They were even coming out saying that they root for the cartels against America. Rashida Tlaib voted against destroying cartel tunnels that bring fentanyl into this country. She voted against that. She represents Detroit. Do you know how many people lost their lives to fentanyl poisoning? And she was willing to not destroy those tunnels that is smuggled through? These people are diabolical. The suffering they were willing to allow you to go through just to blame the administration. So I want you to watch this clip with me, and I want you to listen closely to what's being said. It's also a reaction to Greg Foreman at the Black Conservative. And I want you to hear from their own mouths what they were willing to do to American people. So this is for fair usage under the 1976 Copyright Act for education commentary. Check this out.
Is she trying to push out Chuck Schumer? Because for the first time, she delivered a sharp rebuke in public to Senator Chuck Schumer over his support of the House GOP spending bill. The breaking news is the Senate Democrats are now moving to say yes to pass it. But Nancy Pelosi said Democrat senators should listen to Democrat women in the Senate. Joining us now, Fox News political analyst Lisa Booth.
I'm just going to stop and show you this one point. Nancy Pelosi told the men on the Democratic side, listen to the women, be quiet, listen to the women, listen to Jasmine Crockett, listen to Ayanna Presley, follow their lead, shut the government down. Because guess what? If it doesn't turn out the way we said, in hopes that it will, you can blame these black women because they're disposable anyway. They're disposable. And they're really voting against the interests of their own people. Think about that. She told Schumer, career politician, no, listen to Jasmine Crockett now. They made them the face of the Democratic Party. And they were going to be the face of a governmental shutdown that was going to throw millions of Americans up under the bus. This is terrible.
Listen, I feel like we need popcorn together watching this.
Did you ever see this one coming, that Pelosi would publicly rebuke Schumer?
It's bad for the left right now. You know, yeah, we need popcorn watching this together. You know, but you know, Liz, this is what happens when you have a power vacuum. You know, you've got all these warring factions trying to figure out what's next for the Democrat Party. And obviously, they're in complete disarray. Right now, we're seeing this generational divide. I mean, Nancy Pelosi already stepped down from leadership in the House. Chuck Schumer is obviously still there in the Senate. And they're in an ideological divide as well. You look at the squad with AOC very upset, obviously, with Chuck Schumer going ahead and moving forward with this. And so they're trying to figure out what's next for the Democrat Party, because they've been so badly defeated by President Trump that, you know, they're trying to find their bearings, and they're trying to figure out what's next for the party. And this is bearing fruit right now. That's what we're witnessing.
Interesting. Let's get your take on their chummier days. Watch this.
Chuck was masterful.
Well,
He was masterful.
she set him up so I could go in for the kill.
No, but he was masterful.
So, Mr. President, will you own the shutdown? Yes, I will. And that was, oh, thank you very much.
Boy, 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 boy. So we got to talk about the continued fallout among the Democrats over Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats folding on shutting down the government. Okay, the so-called grassroots, the radical Democrats are furious with Chuck Schumer. Okay, it seems as if Chuck Schumer's days being the Democrat Party leader in the Senate are numbered. Okay, because even Nancy Pelosi, big Pelosi, drunk Pelosi, came out and took shots at Chuck Schumer publicly over the fact that he folded to President Trump. Pelosi basically told Chuck Schumer that he should have listened to the women. Listen to the women. And I'm just like, hey, you know, if that is the direction the Democrats want to go in, be my guest, because I think Democrats, they're currently a disaster because they listen to women too much, right? They got women leading their party instead of masculine men, right? That's the real issue. The real issue with the Democrats is that they're listening to women too much, right? And that is why that's why the party is currently in a state of disaster and chaos right now, right? So again, if that's the advice that Nancy Pelosi wants to give, right, listen to women, then hey, go for it, Democrats, right? Keep listening to the women, okay? Let's see where that gets you. But hey, it's even at the point now where you have some progressive activists basically saying that, hey, I might leave the party, right? I'm going to leave the party over the Democrats and their piss poor leadership. Take a look.
The grassroots is furious, right? Most of the caucus is furious. I never before, my parents were Democrats. I've been a Democrat my entire life. Never before did I say, I should leave this party, because if democracy is at risk and you had no idea what to do and you have no plan, and even now at this moment, you know nothing of what to do and you're capitulating to this is disgusting.
Are you thinking about leaving the Democratic Party? Is that what you're
Yes, me personally, yes. I'm not an elected official, but I have always voted with the Democrats.
over this issue?
Yeah, over the inability to figure out what to do in the face of fascism and the rise of Trump.
I hear you on that. The inability to have a plan is absolutely a problem, right? But I'm really questioning, what is the
You see, this liberal, they're still saying fascism. It's fascism for Trump to audit the government that he's about to run when he comes through the door, even though every other president has had to audit the institutions that he was going to fund as head of the federal government. But this is what they tell their constituents. This is what they feed their base. Everything that they say about Trump and the right is exactly what they're doing. The protest, the shutting down of government, the lies, the fear-mongering, the deceit, the feminism, the LGBT plus agenda, the termination of pregnancies to the 8th month. These people are diabolical. You have to see that. They keep saying he's a fascist because he did an audit and found out that they were paying millions of dollars to transgender mice. And they gave New York $59 million to house immigrants while veterans and American people suffered and starved and lived in poverty. And then the climax of all of this, they were going to shut down the government so that your checks and everything would be stopped just so they could blame Trump. That's terrible that they would do that and be that so power hungry, that's so vindictive. That vindictiveness is definitely a female trait. Key in your car. I can't have you nobody. Think about the totality and the weight of what they were about to do. What they were willing to do to have you believe the narrative that they've been feeding you for months. To put these women and put these people in front of you and give you political theater and to get you emotionally involved in their schemes so that they could destroy this country. You have Maxine Waters talking civil war, civil war. The Democrats did that in the 1860s and lost, and then they ripped this country apart just to keep their slaves. And they're willing to rip this country apart just to keep their grift and cheap labor. Jasmine Crockett gets in front of you and tells you to your face, we need immigrants to clean our yards, to clean our hotels, to do all these menial jobs, but cheap. Who is she really working for?
Plan after the shutdown happens, because when a shutdown happens, people don't get paid. And this is not exactly an administration that wants to keep the government open.
She said the quiet part aloud. When the shutdown happens, people don't get paid. So if people don't get paid because of the shutdown, they were going to still be able to convince some of you that it was the conservatives' fault, even though they called for the shutdown. They were willing to stop your pay just to make a point, just to shape your mentality, to keep you on that Democratic liberal plantation, that anti-American, anti-God, anti-family party. Think about that. Think about what they're even admitting to.
They actually want the thing to be shut down.
Yeah, but here's the thing. And I'm not a Democrat, never was. I was a lifelong Republican and quit the party over Donald Trump because he is someone who doesn't respect the Constitution and is trying to rule like a king. So, but look, I was part of the Tea Party movement. I watched what happened and how Republicans were a resistance opposition party when Democrats ran everything. And watching this happen now as someone who's an independent that's pro-democracy, that I guess you can say caucuses with the Democrats now, it is very frustrating. When you don't have a leader, there's no unification in a message. It hurts the grassroots and the troops that you need.
Right.
Could you imagine if, I don't know, during World War II, and you saw what was happening with the bombs over London, and then it was just like, Churchill's just going to say, we're going to capitulate now because, well, what are we going to do about it? This is not the way you lead. What happens is that the Republicans who are in charge, they have to explain why workers aren't getting paid. They need to explain why they can't run the government. And the Democrats need to say, we were fighting for you. It's not they're in charge. And show that people are being fought for. I'm watching what's happening.
As you hearing this, she said the quiet part out loud. To be a Democrat, you have to kind of be slow. She said, we're going to shut down the government. And then Trump was going to have to explain why people aren't getting paid, why they can't run the government. That's why we were going to do this. So he would have to explain Wow.
And when you have a demoralized base, you're never going to lead an opposition. If you don't have the chutzpah, if you don't have the intestinal fortitude to lead, then get the hell out of the way, Chuck Schumer, and let the people who are willing to fight for their constituents lead the party. This is not the way to win.
Okay, then how angry are Democrats at Leader Schumer?
I've never seen this level of volcanic anger at a Democrat ever. Ever.
Wow.
We could be grumpy. We can be frustrated with each other. There is a volcanic eruption of outrage at Leader Schumer because we want a Mitch McConnell. I remember when Obama had all the cards. Mitch McConnell drove Obama nuts, twisted his pinky, broke his kneecaps, and got stuff done for Republicans when they shouldn't have gotten an inch. They got miles. We have a Senate a majority leader who is beloved in this party, but if we want somebody who's going to stand up to this bully, do something. And if you shut the government down and it gets a little bit crazy, at least some politics is about the rationality. There's an emotional need to stop Donald Trump and Elon Musk from running over this party. And I,
is you hearing what he's saying? He said, shut down the government, and we know it's going to get crazy, but at least it will show that we have some type of fight in our party. But what about the people who are not going to get paid for months? The evictions, the suffering. That's collateral damage.
I think Chuck Schumer has radically misread the room.
Radically misread the room. Let's listen to Charlemagne the God, who was about as blunt as you are in his own way. This is his message for the Democratic leadership now.
You know why, Dems suck at messaging? Because they never talking about nothing. And they do nothing. So guess what? To me, they all got to go. Like Dems don't just have a messaging problem. They got a leadership problem. The Chuck Schumers of the world, the Hakeem Jeffries, they should all step down. And any Dem who isn't fighting for the people and standing with the party should be primary.
If ALC, look, Schumer doesn't run until I think 28. If he were up now and ALC primaried him, he would be out.
He'd be out.
I'm not saying.
Think about that. Chuck Schumer. This is a storied leader of the Democratic Party. You would say that.
Listen, it's the wrong. We want some alpha energy, and that's not what we're seeing. It's this party is tired of watching Donald Trump and Elon Musk run over this party, run over this country, run over the Constitution. And if you only have one opportunity to take a stand and you don't take it, it's very difficult to. Once you lose people's hearts, you can disagree on hit. You lost hearts now. That's tough.
Yeah. So the implosion of the Democrat Party is in full force right now. Okay. What we're saying is the Democrat Party collapsing. Okay. It's collapsing before our very eyes. It's been collapsing for a while. And you thought that, hey, maybe at some point Democrats will hit rock bottom. But no, they have not hit rock bottom yet. They are just continuing to be in free fall. Okay. And again, the funny part about it, the hilarious part about it is that a lot of these people, a lot of these progressives that are upset with what Chuck Schumer did have no real reason to be upset. They've essentially been brainwashed by the lies and the fake talking points from these Democrats that want to put the government shutdown on President Trump and the Republicans, when the reality is that Democrats, again, they're the only people that were standing in the way of the government staying open, okay? And that was through filibuster, okay? Which is something that Democrats wanted to get rid of just a few years ago, right? When Biden was in office, they wanted to get rid of filibuster. Now all of a sudden they're mad that Chuck Schumer, their leader, decided to overcome the filibuster and to allow an actual vote on whether or not the government is going to stay open. Again, it's just hilarious how that works. So with that being said, I want to react to what I believe is actually a pretty good segment. Okay, this is a pretty fair segment from Chris Cuomo. Yes, I know it's Chris Cuomo, but he actually does a good job of calling out the BS around this government shutdown, right, from the Democrats. And I want to react to it because I feel like it's a pretty good summary of kind of what's going on here. The fact that Democrats are playing political games with their base, and their brainwashed base, they're falling for this nonsense, right? They're outraging over nothing. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Another right move that is being called wrong is not shutting down the government. A shutdown does nothing to the people who cause it. It only punishes the public. I am no fan of continuing resolutions. They are supposed to be for emergencies. And they were designed in a way to assume that Congress would keep negotiating on appropriations. Now, they're the rule more than the exception. Democrats and Republicans both kick the can, basically quitting on doing the real job of negotiating and passing all 12 appropriation bills. No one gets to do this in their job. None of us. Only in Congress. But this one in particular must be exposed to show how ugly the play is. Senator Schumer backed off the shutdown threat. Why? Because he was told the last thing Democrats need is to shut the government down and once again seem to be against the interests of the majority. And you know what? He made the right call. But now, according to many leaders in his party, they want you to believe that they're fighting for you by shutting down the government. They just want to play the game. And I'm not just talking about the AOC socialist types, okay? Most media are playing up the split in the Democrat ranks. I don't give a damn about that. That's part of the problem. They just love covering the game. Did you hear what Pelosi said and Hakeem Jeffries and his Schumer? Forget it. Forget playing their game. Expose it. Make it end, okay? Pelosi actually wants senators to defy Schumer and shut the government down. Pelosi's statement is proof of the problem. Trump and Musk have offered the Congress a false choice between a government shutdown or a blank check. What proof is there of that? It makes a devastating assault on the well-being of working families across America. What proof is there of that in this CR? I read it. America has experienced a Trump shutdown before, but this damaging legislation only makes matters worse. How? How? We must fight back for a better way. What better way? Telling senators to defy Schumer? Pelosi postures like this is about fighting for you against tax cuts for the rich and taking pressure off the working class. That is bull blank bleep. This is a continuing resolution. You know what that means? Pelosi does. She's lying to you about it. Why? Advantage. A continuing resolution means they are extending the funding from the last budget deal, which was a CR. Okay? It was.
Did you hear that? They were willing to shut down a continuing resolution that's been paying you out your benefits that was being handled all through the Biden administration. They were willing to shut down the government so it abruptly stopped all your checks, all your pay, just so they can blame Donald Trump. They were willing to make you suffer. That's dirty. And I'm going to end on that note and let you think about that over the weekend. They were playing a mind game with you. Nazism, fascism, threat to democracy, all these things that they put in your mind just so they could betray you and create a whole new narrative that would have misled you for the next 4 years. Signing that you are Detroit. This is Detroit's HPTV. Support the channel, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that like button. As always, salute to all patriots. Y'all really better keep your head on the swivel. Peace.